both teams fighting. You're dealing with a lot during the game as you're trying to adjust. And it's our job to problem solve and find ways to go win. But when you look at that, we're all can be frustrated, Mike. But it's we got to regroup. We got to fix what was an issue today, and we got to go get back on track next week because we still got a lot of opportunity ahead of us.
Inside the Nest, an Atlanta Falcons audio experience. Here is your host, Craig Green.
Touchdown Atlanta.
This was the chance to grab control. The NFC South was theirs to hold. It was there for the taking, but the Falcons could not claim the win they needed in a hard-fought game. Welcome inside the Nest. I'm your host, Craig Green. Let's get into it. Shout out to AtlantaFalcons.com for the sound of Arthur Smith in the postgame press conference after the Falcons dropped a tough 29-25 decision to the now first place Tampa Bay Buccaneers, led by Baker Mayfield at quarterback and Todd Bowles at head coach. Falcons had plenty of chances, had a really cold third quarter. The big difference was the touchdown that Rachaad White was able to score in the third, 31-yard screen pass from Baker Mayfield. Falcons punted 4 times in the third quarter. Then they finally woke up in the fourth, but it wasn't enough as the mistakes mounted and Tampa Bay pounded after a while. The injuries mounted. Tampa Bay kept on pounding the ball down the middle of the Falcons' defense. To the Falcons' misfortune, they were unable to hold the rope. Cade Otton was found in the end zone with 31 seconds to go, and that was that for the Falcons. All right, let's take a look at the injury situation for the Falcons. The Falcons avoided injuries to key players in positions for most of the season, but it's starting to catch up to them now. On offense, Jake Matthews, he left the game with a knee injury. He didn't return. He was replaced by Tyler Vrabel, who is the son of Tennessee Titans head coach Mike Vrabel. And Tyler did a pretty good job replacing Matthews. Chris Lindstrom, left right guard. He left the game with an ankle issue, but was able to return to the game and finish the contest. He and Matthew Bergeron, the left guard, were the only 2 starters on the line to end the day. Prior to the game, right tackle Caleb McGarry was ruled out, and center Drew Dahlman was a game day inactive. At one point, the Falcons only had 1 O-line starter on the field in this game, and that was Bergeron, who held up the entire game. Mac Hollins, wide receiver, he returned after his ankle injury. He had 1 catch for 4 yards, his only target of the game. Kentavious Street was injured, quickly ruled out with a shoulder injury, which is not a good sign at all. This past Monday, it was corrected to a pectoral injury. It's not as bad as originally thought, but he has already been ruled out for Sunday at Carolina. So in his place was Travis Bell, and Travis Bell ended up making NFL history as the first player from Kennesaw State to ever play in an NFL game. So congratulations to Travis Bell. Nate Landman, David Onyemata, linebacker, defensive lineman, respectively, they were both ruled out on Friday. And Jeff Okudah, the cornerback, he was questionable going into the game. He was scratched on game day. All right, so let's recap the stats from this past game. We'll do it kind of quickly if we can. So again, remember, Bucs win 29-25. Team-wise, first downs, 23-16 Atlanta. Third down efficiency was in favor of the Bucs, 6 out of 16 for them, 5 out of 13 for Atlanta. Fourth down efficiency went to the Falcons, 1 of 1 versus 1 of 2, so 100% to 50%. Total yards, 434 to 290 Atlanta. Yards per play, 6.3 to 4.3 Atlanta. Passing yards, net passing yards, 338 to 142 Atlanta. Yards per pass, 7.9 to 4.7 Atlanta. The Falcons got 1 sack on Mayfield. Bucs got 3 sacks on Ridder, including the strip fumble and the strip sack in the end zone for a safety. Rushing yards, 148-96 Tampa. In the red zone, Bucs were 100%, 2 for 2. The Falcons were 2 of 3. Penalties, Falcons only had 2 penalties for 10 yards, but they were pretty crushing penalties. Tampa Bay, 4 penalties for 26. Turnovers, the Bucs won that battle 1-0. And possession-wise, 31-40 to Tampa, 28-20 for the Falcons. And looking at the Falcons box score, they were led, of course, in passing by Desmond Ridder, 26 of 40, 347 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, sacked 3 times for a loss of 9 yards, and had a quarterback rating of 90.3. Falcons led in rushing by Tyler Algier, 9 carries, 40 yards. Bijan Robinson, 10 for 34 and a touchdown. Desmond Ridder chipped in 4 carries, 15 yards and a rushing score. Cordero Patterson, 3 rushes, 7 yards. Receiving-wise, it was the Drake London show, folks. 10 catches, 172 yards on 11 targets. Kyle Pitts, 3 for 57 and a touchdown. Bijan Robinson, 5 catches, 64 yards. Jonnu Smith, 4 catches, 27 yards. Michael Pruitt, 2 catches, 15 yards. Kenero Hodge and Mac Hollins each registered 1 catch. Scotty Miller was targeted 3 times but did not bring in any passes whatsoever. Defensively, Falcons led by Caden Ellis, 10 tackles, 7 solos. By Jesse Bates, another strong game, 9 tackles, 7 solos, tackle for loss, pass deflection. And Andre Smith, in place of the injured Nate Landman, had 8 tackles and 6 solo tackles on his own. The 1 sack for the Falcons went to Kentavious Street, who was injured and left the game and did not come back. Only 1 quarterback hit on Baker Mayfield in this game. The Falcons just didn't generate enough pressure to make him feel uncomfortable. Quickly taking a look at the scoring summary. So Tampa Bay started the scoring with 9:27 to go in the first quarter. Chase McLaughlin hit a 55-yard field goal, put the Bucs up 3-0 after a 9-play, 38-yard drive that took 5 minutes and 33 seconds off the clock. Falcons respond with a Younghoe Koo 20-yard field goal. They stalled out in the red zone, had to kick for the points. This is a 16-play, 73-yard drive that ate up 8 minutes and 4 seconds. So second quarter, Baker Mayfield was able to run one in after a Desmond Ridder interception on the screen pass. That screen pass, from everything I've seen, there were 2 missed blocks on the outside that led to the route being jumped and the pass being intercepted. So as a result of that interception, Baker Mayfield was able to scamper in from 1 yard out. It was a 2-play drive, 8 yards, only took 23 seconds off the clock. Chase McLaughlin with the extra point to make it 10-3. Falcons come right back with a 6-play, 75-yard drive that took 2:48 off the clock. Kyle Pitts caught a 36-yard pass from Desmond Ridder. He was wide open. Falcons tie the game at 10 after Koo makes the extra point. The Buccaneers pull ahead 12-10 after Ridder is strip-sacked in the end zone. Keith Smith recovers. He's tackled in the end zone for a safety by Patrick O'Connor. So that puts the Bucs up 12-10. That was the score at halftime. Third quarter, the Buccaneers dominated the third quarter. They only scored once, but the Falcons were not able to move the football really whatsoever. Buccaneers get a touchdown from Rachaad White on a 31-yard screen pass from Baker Mayfield after a 9-play, 66-yard drive that took 4 minutes and 40 seconds off the clock. They got that touchdown with 4:06 to go in the third quarter. The McLaughlin extra point made it 19-10. Then in the fourth quarter, Falcons start to rise up and come back. 11-10 left in the game. Bijan Robinson runs it in from 3 yards out. Koo makes the extra point. 19-17 Tampa Bay right now after a 7-play, 67-yard drive with 2:52 off the clock. Chase McLaughlin answers for Tampa Bay with a 38-yard field goal after a 10-play, 55-yard drive that took 5 minutes off the clock. That puts Tampa up 22-17 with 6:10 left in the game. Falcons respond quickly as they roll down the field. Desmond Ridder, with 3:23 to go, runs it in from 6 yards out and then finds Drake London for a 2-point conversion pass. That drive was 5 plays, 75 yards in 2:47. The Falcons pulled ahead 25-22 and led with 3:23 to go. So they put their defense back on the field. The Buccaneers engineered a 12-play, 75-yard drive. And with 31 seconds left, Baker Mayfield found Cade Otton in the back of the end zone for an 11-yard touchdown pass. The extra point by McLaughlin made it 29-25. Falcons had one last shot at it, and on the final play of the game, Drake London was tackled by Izzian at the 3-yard line And the Falcons fall 3 points short, 3 yards short, 4 points short, and as a result, Tampa Bay is now in first place. So the NFC South standings, they look like this. Tampa Bay is in first. Technically, the Falcons are tied for first with the same record of 6-7, but the tiebreaker belongs to Tampa Bay because they have a better record against common opponents. So they are technically in first. The Falcons are in second, same record, 6-7. Falcons are 4-3 at home, 2-4 on the road. The Falcons also have a division record of 3-1. So does Tampa Bay. The Saints, 6-7. They are 3-3 at home, 3-4 on the road. And, of course, the Panthers in last, in fourth place, 1-12. Their only win was at home against the Houston Texans, and they are 0-8 on the road. All right, let's take a look at the good from this football game. Got to start with the obvious. Drake London had a monster game against the Bucs defense. They really had no answers for number 5 all game long. He caught all but one target for 172 yards and a 2-point conversion. I thought the reserve offensive lineman also did an admirable job protecting Desmond Ridder. They really couldn't get the run game going at all, but they kept Ridder clean for a good chunk of time. He was sacked 3 times, but just for 9 yards. Ridder also had a big day, too. I know folks will look at the interception, the fumble for the safety, and the lull in the third quarter. Kind of want to stick that on Ridder, but Desmond played well. That interception was not entirely on him, and neither was the fumble. Better blocking on both plays may have prevented those bad plays from happening. And now let's take a look at the bad, okay? The reserve. I usually reserve the bad, the good and bad for things that are controlled by the people on the field, but the injury bug was a real factor in this game down the stretch. The Falcons were down 4 starting O-linemen at one point during the game. Luckily, Chris Lindstrom returned to the game, but the reserves had to spring into action pretty often. And on defense, Kentavious Street was injured and didn't return, so that led to Travis Bell getting more playing time, and edge players like Zach Harrison and Calais Campbell getting snaps on the interior defensive line. And in this game, there was already no Onyemata, no Landman, no Jeff Okudah, no Lakel London, and then Kentavious Street got injured. The other bad for me is third down. Atlanta was just 5 of 13 on third down against the Bucs. They punted 4 times in the third quarter alone because they weren't able to sustain any drives. Also, the untimely mistakes are still happening. And this time, it was Clark Phillips getting flagged for defensive holding on the Bucs game-winning drive. That gave Tampa a fresh set of downs, and moments later, Cade Otton scored with 31 seconds left. And, got to mention Younghoe Koo as part of the bad since he missed 2 field goals. I know they were from 50-plus yards out, but he's usually reliable from that distance. And overall, it was just a tough loss for the Falcons in a game that they really, really, really needed to win. So up next for the Falcons is a rematch this Sunday with the Carolina Panthers at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte this Sunday at 1 o'clock on Fox. So let's take a look at the first game between the two. If you'll remember, Week 1, the Falcons defeated Carolina 24-10 at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Falcons that day were led by Desmond Ridder, 15 of 18 passing, just 115 yards and a touchdown. The running game really got going that day. Tyler Algier, 15 carries, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. Bijan Robinson, his first NFL game, 10 carries, 56 yards. Then had 6 catches for 27 yards and his first NFL touchdown. Kyle Pitts led the team in receiving that day, two catches for 44 yards. Falcons defense really came to play that day. Had 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss. Really was impressive. Jesse Bates introduced himself to Atlanta very well. 2 interceptions. Just a fantastic job by the Falcons that day. Things were a little different for both teams coming into this game. The Panthers fired their head coach, Frank Reich, and they replaced him with interim head coach Chris Tabor, who is the Panthers special teams coordinator. So he will take over as head coach. It's his first time in 15 years working in the NFL that he's led an entire team. So the Panthers may have a different philosophy of sorts coming into this game. Teams typically try to morph into the personality of their head coach. So we'll see what Tabor decides he wants the Panthers to look like for the remaining 4 to 5 games of the season. So Panthers statistically, let's take a look at what they've got going on. They are led by Bryce Young, who has passed for 2,192 yards, 9 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Comparable numbers to Desmond Ridder, who is 2,300 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, 9 interceptions himself. Both players in their first full years as starters. Chuba Hubbard leads the team in rushing, 166 carries, 644 yards, 4 touchdowns. Led in receiving by Adam Thielen, 827 yards, 4 touchdowns. Kind of having a comeback season after being the odd man out in Minnesota after the drafting of Justin Jefferson. Looking at the Panthers' last 5 games, they are 0-5 in the last 5. They have not scored over 20 points in 7 straight games. Their last game was a 28-6 loss to the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. Again, the only game they have won this season, they scored 15 points in that one. That was a 15-13 win over the Houston Texans. Falcons come into this game having lost 3 of the last 5, but have won 2 of the last 3. And we'll have to see what the players look like in terms of injuries, if Onyemata, Landman, and Caleb McGarry can all make their way back. It looks like Lindstrom and Jake Matthews have a legitimate shot to play, according to Arthur Smith. But we will see what that holds for us this Sunday, 1 o'clock on Fox from Bank of America Stadium in the other Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina. All right, so that's going to end things for this week. Thanks again for checking out our podcast, and hope you find this information useful and entertaining. Love to invite you to follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, X, Snapchat, YouTube, and Threads at Craig G Sports. Please like, subscribe, download, and share this podcast with any Falcons fans you know, any NFL fans you know, and any sports fans you know. And we'll be back shortly after the Panthers game. On the day of, I will be broadcasting 2 basketball games, so the podcast will most likely be a little bit late, maybe Monday, maybe Tuesday before it comes out. Could be Sunday night. We'll see. But want to thank everybody for your patience, and thank you for listening as always. Also want to wish everyone out there, if you're celebrating, a happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, happy Festivus, whatever you may celebrate. And we will talk to you guys very, very soon. And make sure you tell your loved ones that you care about them, you love them, and spend some time with your family, friends, and the people that uplift you and make you happy. So until we return after the Panthers game, I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. This is your guy, CG, saying sayonara and buenos noches.